I wanted to start season 3 on Martin Luther King Day.
Important issues of our nation in the area of civil rights.
I didn't know there would be an insurrection last week. Now it makes even more sense. As my parents watched various groups storm the Capitol on Wednesday.
I know, look at this. These protesters are inside Statuary Hall.
I tried to document with my camera, but my younger brother, Pana, kept putting up his hand, overcome with emotion. "I told you this would happen, Dad," he shouted, and then turned to me. "Don't film me now." "Take it easy, Pana," my dad reassured him. "We have to stay calm." "What is going to happen, Pirooz?" my mother asked me. "We need to get a gun. We have to protect ourselves. What are you going to do if someone comes and breaks into the house?" "Gun is not the answer," my dad said, and shook his head. "We are a family of peace." We watched the news for a straight 5 hours.
We are watching an attempted sedition.
Pana comes back and forth from the basement. "Man, I wish I never watched the news. It didn't help at all. It just fills you with anxiety. You gotta turn this off." Pana walks over and turns off the television. "This news is not good for you," he says, and tosses the remote on the sofa and walks back downstairs. My mother watches him leave and then looks at me. "Do you want me to turn the news back on, Mom?" "Yes, Pirooz. I want to see what happened." I stay for a bit longer with her. They're not talking about impeaching Trump for a second time.
Democrats setting into motion the process that will lead to a vote this week.
They need to get rid of him. They need to do this a long time ago. I don't say anything.
But you have to go home now. We have to have peace.
I wonder about when Trump was first elected, and I warned Brad Warner about the possibility on our podcast back in 2016. It's going to be even worse than we could imagine. And it's going to be horrific. I think about the film we did afterward called Make Film Great Again that explored the dangers of wearing a MAGA hat and walking down Hollywood Boulevard, and if the moniker could be reclaimed as Make Film Great Again.
MAGA, Make America Great Again, is too steeped in white nationalism and white supremacy to be recovered.
I remember the Skype calls I had with friends around the world, and one of them saying how happy they were when he was elected.
That might be the best thing that's ever happened.
Last night, I watched Michael Moore warn about future attacks in all 50 states on his Facebook watch group.
Friends, the terrorist attack is not over.
My father warns the same thing. This is just the beginning. The next day, I watched the news again with my mother.
Multiple officials resigning overnight after
They
President
resigned,
Trump
she
failed
tells
to
me.
deliver
Everyone resigned. And then we watch as some of the vigilantes are arrested in airports.
But this is what they do to us. They kick me off the plane.
Did you see that video of them getting arrested and crying? Pana says, emerging from the basement. I don't really have words anymore. I spend most days that follow applying for jobs and emailing festival programmers about the possibility of festivals during a pandemic. Everything seems to have come to a standstill. My only light at the end of the tunnel is my daily hike with my father. "This hike is my meditation," he tells me as we make our way through the snow. He talks about how he sees Trump continuing to do worse and potentially calling martial law if he stays in office. "This guy needs to go. He is dangerous." I think about Mrs. Ellis. The day she gave me Dr. King's autobiography, reading circle was done and she called me up to her desk. Then she gave me the book. "I thought you'd like this one, Pirooz," she told me. The book had Dr. King's picture on it. I liked his mustache. "Is this a story?" I asked. "It's an autobiography," Mrs. Ellis told me. "Read it and find out." I read the book all week. He seemed like a good person, and I didn't understand everything. But I liked the story about his house and the nice things he said about people and being kind to one another. That was a lot like I was taught in the Baha'i faith. This religion started in Iran, where they believed all religions agree, eliminating racism and equality for everyone. "It reminds me of the Baha'i faith," I told Mrs. Ellis. "He wants everyone to work together." "That's right, Pirooz." Later that week, I got to leave class early to go with my mom and dad to the immigration office. I read the book in the car the whole way. I thought about how it'd be nice to be like Dr. King when I grow up, and I told my dad as he drove. "I want to be like Dr. King when I grow up," I told him. "He was a great man," my dad said. I kept the book close to me until I had to give it back to Mrs. Ellis on Monday. I thought if I kept it under my pillow, it would help me be more like Dr. King. I really wanted to help people understand that I was just like them, and they were just like me. "This life is a mystery," my dad said, turning left on the trail back to the car. "Do you think more violence will happen?" I asked. "It's possible," he says. "We have to stay calm and be prepared." I hear lots of folks saying it's only going to get worse before it gets better, that this is the beginning of civil war. I'm not so sure. I have a feeling this is the beginning of something better. "This is your problem," my friend from Serbia tells me on a Zoom call. "You're so optimistic." I don't say anything. I look up the book Mrs. Ellis let me borrow, and I find it on Amazon. I figure it's a good time to start reading it again.
تنها تو دنیا من خسته و دور به سوی فردا تنهای تنها تنها تو دنیا من خسته و دور به سوی فردا تو این جدایی من بودم و شب من بودم و عشق قلب تمنا تو این جدایی من بودم و شب من بودم و عشق قلب تمنا
God is not interested merely in the freedom of black men and brown men and yellow men, but God is interested in the freedom of the whole human race and the creation of a society where all men will live together as brothers. No, we need not hate. We need not use violence. That is another way. A way as old as the insights of Jesus of Nazareth. As modern as the techniques of Mohandas K. Gandhi. That is another way. A way as old as Jesus saying, love your enemies. Bless them that curse you. Pray for them that despitefully use you. And as modern as Gandhi saying through Thoreau, non-cooperation with evil is as much a moral obligation as is cooperation with good. That is another way. A way as old as Jesus saying, turn the other cheek. And when he said that, he realized that turning the other cheek might bring suffering sometimes. He realized that it may get you home bombed sometimes. He realized that it may get you stabbed sometime. He realized that it may get you scarred up sometime. He was saying in substance that it is better to go through life with a scarred up body than a scarred up soul. That is another way. This is what we've got to see.